Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly for the Real Sports Talk and Section215.com. Thank you for tuning in. I haven't made a video in a couple days, so I wanted to make a video about Forbes today releasing their most disliked players of 2013 in the NFL list. It's this very interesting list. It features some names that I'm not surprised that they're on the list, but I'm surprised that they are as high. I would have thought if you did a list of most disliked players, I think when they did one last year, I don't know if it was Forbes who did it or someone else, of who the players disliked the most, I think Ndamukong Suh came up as number one. Michael Vick was on the list, I believe, but he wasn't nearly as high as he is on this list. Manti was not even in the NFL yet at this time. This year, you go by, and let me just read through a little bit of this article. It's from Tom Van Riper, who is basically what Darren Rovell does for ESPN. He covers the business part of sports for Forbes, except he's a lot less annoying and arrogant than Darren Rovell. He says in this article, it's been more than 4 years since Vick was released from federal prison, where he served 19 months for bankrolling the dogfighting operation. He's performed well and avoided legal trouble ever since. Yet he is stuck at or near the top of our various annual lists of disliked athletes. Once again, he tops our list of most disliked NFL players according to the latest surveys from ePoll Market Research, a California-based firm whose eScore measures public opinion of thousands of celebrities based on likability, awareness, confidence, and many other attributes. Pollsters have told us on a few occasions that while Vick scores well with hardcore NFL fans, casual fans still identify him mostly with the legal woes he had a few years ago. And stop right there. Before I go into anything else on the list, I'm not trying to make excuses for Michael Vick. I think Michael Vick, I like watching him a lot. I would say I'm a fan of Michael Vick, but I was campaigning for Nick Foles last week. Now, I can't really do that today based off how he played yesterday afternoon, but I'm not going to sit here and try and make excuses. What Michael Vick did was a heinous, disgusting thing. But when I sit down and watch an NFL game, the thought of dogfighting with Michael Vick hasn't even come into my mind for 2 or 3 years at least. The first year or two, especially since he wasn't the starter, he was only getting occasional plays, and every time he came in, it was kind of a big deal. Then it mattered. But now it's like Michael Vick, not only has he stayed out of trouble, but he genuinely appears to have changed. I might be completely wrong, and I might be just wanting to think that, but I really don't think so. I think when I listen to Michael Vick interviewed, when I listen to Michael Vick talk, he's changed. Casual NFL fans haven't done that because not only do they not watch the NFL, but they're not turning on the radio after the game. They don't watch the NFL as much. They're not turning on the radio after the game to listen to the press conferences, watch it on TV, whatever the case is. They're not reading the articles online where these players are quoted. They're not seeing some of the good things I think that Michael Vick has done. Again, I don't think Michael Vick, what he did is something that he should ever be necessarily forgiven for, but it's just something that you move past. He served his time legally. That's what he's supposed to do. He couldn't have done anything more, and he's really handled his comeback as good as he could. And I think people that are NFL fans, they just don't identify with Michael Vick as that type of guy anymore. But people that don't watch, and I think that's the flaw with this poll, is you really just don't know how many of these people are NFL fans. That's the real problem with this entire poll. So Michael Vick comes in at number one. To me, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the list. He probably deserves to be on the list and will be for the remainder of his career. But I wouldn't look at him at number one. Now at number two is Manti, and this to me, I don't get it. It shows the laziness of America. It's the San Diego Chargers linebacker Teo, who scores a 48% dislike rating thanks to last year's bizarre fake girlfriend episode towards the end of his college career at Notre Dame. With a foot injury limiting his playing time as an NFL rookie, Teo simply hasn't had a chance to turn the attention away from the old drama. Now, ePoll chief executive Gary Philpott said, I think this will stay with him until he gets a chance to prove them wrong. Michael Vick's thing stayed with him until he got a chance to prove them wrong. For NFL fans, again, for people that are casual fans or people that maybe only watch college football, whatever the case is, I mean, NFL memes makes a living still off of making these Manti Teo memes, and I think it's stupid at this point. But I mean, the Alex Smith fake handoff meme yesterday with he's handing off to Manti Teo's girlfriend. I see this all over my Facebook. People are sharing on Instagram, Twitter. It's kind of a joke that people will always relate to. And Manti Te'o does not play on a team right now that is a premier team. I like what the Chargers have done turning around, but they're not a premier team still. And he doesn't play a position necessarily that, unless you're of the status of Ray Lewis or whatever the case is, at middle linebacker, Patrick Willis even doesn't get a ton of attention for as good as he is. Unless you are playing at a Hall of Fame level, it's going to be hard to get rid of that. So I somewhat disagree with that, and I think the laziness aspect comes in here, because originally last year I blasted Manti Te'o for this entire thing because he knew. But then the more that I looked into it, he knew and he lied, and that part was wrong. Don't get me wrong on that. But just the entire situation, he got screwed. He really got catfish. It was a disgusting situation. The Lene Kakua, whatever that guy's name was, that pulled off the whole thing. And I'm not against gay people, but the whole thing was just, it was a strange thing. And I look at Manti Te'o as the victim in that entire thing. I really do. And I find a tough time. I mean, even if it bothered you, it's a guy's personal life. If you don't like him as much anymore, I guess that makes sense. But it's something to me that goes away after a little. I can understand still being mad about Michael Vick. For the Manti Te'o thing, if you continued to follow the story, which most people clearly did not do, well, then I think you wouldn't feel this way. But again, that's a problem with this poll, is it doesn't appear like the people voting were necessarily the most informed. And Ndamukong Suh of the Lions comes in at number 3, known for his toughness and occasional cheap shot. There's nothing occasional about it. He is one of the most dominating his college career. If you didn't watch him in Nebraska, he was probably the greatest. Him and Glenn Dorsey are the two greatest defensive linemen I've ever watched in college. But since he's going to come to the NFL, he kicked Matt Schaub in the balls. He stepped on that lineman on the Packers. He's done some stupid things. He takes cheap shots, and that to me, I understand why he's on this list. Now, the next thing that comes in is Tom Brady, and I guess I shouldn't be. I guess I should be a little surprised, like the guy writing this article is, but I'm not really. He says, then there's the most surprising name. New England quarterback Tom Brady, the 3-time Super Bowl champion, is blessed with looks, talent, and a model wife who, by the way, she's overrated, and makes about $7 million annually in endorsement, but he clocks in with a 25% dislike score. Then again, maybe it's not so surprising. When you have everything a lot of people can't identify. I don't look at it like that, but I can understand why people wouldn't like Tom Brady. He said that he goes on to say, with Brady, e-polls numbers show that women love the guy, but a lot of men see him as an upper crust pretty boy, which he is. And this quote drives it home. He's not the type of guy that you would come to your house and watch the Super Bowl with a couple beer and drink a couple beers with you. Could not see it. Tom Brady would be the type of guy that would come to your house and ask for a mixed drink while you're watching the Super Bowl. He would not sit down and have a beer. He would. I mean, that quote is dead on. And then there's some other names that come in: Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Again, with those three, it's more just because how good they are. But I think a lot of guys have to hear about girls just watching football because of Tom Brady. I think I can understand why Tom Brady comes on this list. But Forbes releases a very interesting list today. Michael Vick and Manti Te'o for different reasons, and I think when you look at the reasons, it's a little sick that Manti Te'o is even compared to Michael Vick in this list. But then again, I think Michael Vick has done a good job of turning his life around. Don't get me wrong on that. Just what he did was so much worse. And even if you feel like Manti Te'o wasn't the victim, so much worse than what he did, that for those two to be compared, it kind of feels wrong to me. But whatever, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Who's your most disliked player in the NFL? What do you feel about this list? I think it's an interesting article. I don't necessarily... These sports business reporters, to me, it's just... They tweet out these facts that are just so irrelevant. And people are like, oh man, did you know Michael Vick makes $200,000 per second? I don't care. I sit down and I watch the game Sunday, and believe me, I read every single article, especially Philadelphia related, because Section 215 is obviously a Philadelphia website. So obviously I'm doing that, and I'm searching for everything on the internet. But if I had to rank the things in sports that I could not care less about, it is the money things, the endorsements, I don't care. Unless you have nice shoes, I don't care about your endorsements. I don't care about how much money you make off the field. It's really irrelevant to me. The only thing I care about is the cap situation. I'll see you guys next time.